Welcome, my friend, to Next Level Change Success. I'm Therese, a change strategist and practitioner with over 20 years of experience designing and delivering impactful change programs across various industries. In this podcast, I share real-world practical strategies to help you create and deliver positive change experiences, whether you're a leader, practitioner, or someone looking to bring new ways of working to life. In today's fast-paced world, change is constant. Here we focus on how you can put people at the centre of your change strategy, because people with a sense of purpose are the most important link in driving performance. So if you're ready to create meaningful change and achieve all the success that comes with it, keep listening. Together, let's change the conversation and take it to the next level. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Next Level Change Success. My name is Therese, and I'm the founder of myvirtualchangemanager.com. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm recording on Therese country and pay my respects to the traditional owners and custodians on the land on which I am recording. Hello. So today we're just talking about the top 3 things that you can get wrong when it comes to change. These are things that are going to absolutely affect your outcomes, and to varying degrees, but these are quite fundamental. Many people, when it comes to change, just head straight into delivery, and that bias to action can have you trip up quite fast and quite badly when it comes to change. And of course, this is regardless of whether it's business as usual change, so whether you're trying to introduce continuous improvement or whether you're in a project and you're looking to deliver a change to the organisation or to another department or team. So the first area, because I'm just going to jump straight into it, because this is all about change at speed in a lot of ways, because this bias to action says that there's a sense of urgency. Sometimes it could be that projects are running late, so now it's a rush to get it delivered because of a timeline or a looming deadline. And so the sense of urgency hasn't been there, or discipline hasn't been there to make progress. Sometimes you're kind of thrown into the deep end to get something delivered, whether that be you're the subject matter expert or whether you're the change practitioner or project practitioner. So the first area that you're going to trip up in is not understanding the impact of the change. If you don't at least take the time to unpack that to a satisfactory level, then you are never going to implement a change plan that is going to sufficiently address the change. If you underbake the change, so you don't go and validate some of the assumptions that you've made, if you're doing a desktop review, so if you're not going and talking to the people who are impacted, you are absolutely going to come unstuck around assumptions that you've made around those impacts. If you've sized the change incorrectly, so if you thought it was a small change, but actually it's quite significant, and vice versa, if you think something's quite significant, but people are like, no, we've done this before, this happens often, then you could also overemphasize the change when in fact there isn't a huge amount of impact. And it means you need to ask the right questions, but also understand sizing of change and how you can do that in a fast way. If you know the business, and the more you've worked within an organisation or a company or with certain departments, you're going to be able to size the change after you've delivered some, and thus the benefit of continuity when it comes to resource. If you have a change person who's been working with the organisation for a while, they're going to be able to assess the change pretty fast versus someone who's come in fresh and who may need a bit of time to talk to stakeholders to validate, assess, and be comfortable with the change. If you were going to ask me how long would it take to effectively assess a change impact, and I would say that it's possibly a week if you can have someone with the experience and the knowledge of the organisation go and ask questions, as well as whether it's a policy team you're working with or whoever you're working with, a tech team or a process-oriented team. If you're working with the project and you have the right subject matter expertise on that project, they can also help provide some insights around the effectiveness of it. But essentially, my rule of thumb is if the subject matter expert isn't from the impacted area, or if there's only one subject matter expert available and on the project, you still need to explore and have discussions beyond that one person to ensure that you're comfortable with the assessment that you've done on the change. And thus, the impact assessment helps inform your change plan. So if you don't understand the scope of the change, the impact of it, then your change plan absolutely will not be fit for purpose for that change. Thus why you want to explore the challenges and the change and the impacts as you go. If you don't have, a bit of what I say, the luxury of time, and if you've been brought onto a piece of work that essentially is getting delivered, then what you really need to do is ensure that your post-go live support and your embedment is also getting feedback fast so that you can adapt your approach appropriately. If you don't get the lead time at the beginning, you certainly need to start to build that in as you iterate through delivery. Really, really important. So that's the first area of tripping up when it comes to your change. The second is not engaging the right stakeholders. And once again, this stems off the back of your impact assessment. Sometimes you might know some of your stakeholders, go and have the discussion with them about the impacts, and then they refer you to other areas who might also be impacted, or that you might also have identified play a role in a process which is changing, for example. Then you have to broaden your stakeholder network, and you do that, and you want to ensure that the stakeholders are either one of the ECI communication tiers, so whether they're engaged, whether they're consulted, or whether they're informed. So you want to ensure that you have the right stakeholders, but that you're also putting in place the appropriate communication levels and engagement levels so that you can get the best outcome possible for the change. Most people who trip up in change have not engaged the right stakeholders. Then all of a sudden things come to a grinding halt, or there's big issues where you have to respond back to questions at possibly senior levels about why people didn't know about the change. So you want to make sure that you have appropriately scoped out the stakeholder landscape in support of your change. And the third area is consulting and co-designing. If you don't consult, whether it be on your rollout plan, whether it be on the solution itself, so if you don't consult, whether it be on your rollout plan, it could be on the communications that you're using, could be on the frequently asked questions and getting people to provide more information to make sure that they're solid. That consultation, and especially I would really encourage you to consult on your solution. Like if you've got a new policy, if you've got a new process, do not sit on an island and design that process. This is one of the biggest inhibitors, I think, for effectiveness across the board. People who are subject matter experts who feel like they have to define the solution, they have to dictate the solution, and then that solution gets put into place without any consultation or taking on any feedback as it starts to be communicated. If you're consulting and you're co-designing, it's a collaborative effort, and that can be quite scary for people who just want to be the smartest person in the room and design something and then send that solution out there. When you're co-designing and consulting, the biggest benefit is that you're going to implement something that works. If you're innovating, you're going to have people who are outside of your mindset who come into the room to give feedback, potentially other ways in which to do it, other ways to think about it. It isn't necessarily your way is the best way. And that's, I think, what most people find challenging about consulting or co-designing because of their own ego investment. And whether it be that you're designing your change plan and that you're getting feedback from those who are impacted by the change so that you can ensure that they're feeling comfortable about the level of communication. It could be about the messaging that you're going to deliver. It could be about the solution itself. But most people who trip up when it comes to change are not putting in a step of co-design or consultation where it is needed. That can then result in a lot of rework. It can then result in a lot of change resistance, or it could just basically be a solution that just doesn't work because you've only factored in, for example, and I see this a lot in the tech landscape, is that you're just looking at the tech solution, not about the business process in which the tech solution fits. And sometimes looking at things from a process efficiency perspective up front, then having that collaboration with the tech solution and having those worlds meet in the middle can get the optimal result. If you've got customers involved, of course, having focus groups, having collaboration, having some design sessions specifically with customer groups is going to make a world of a difference versus just constantly putting out solutions from a corporate or a back office perspective, which can be very ineffective. It could mean that you're solving issues which weren't priority issues for customers. And so you see and hear a lot more in the narrative about ensuring that you know what is important to customers. And that also goes for internal customers, what's really important to them, because else you could be fixing a process that has nothing to do with making their lives easier, and in fact could be making it harder. So definitely from a change perspective, that consultation and collaboration is what's going to make the difference when it comes to generating better outcomes. So 3 areas which people trip up in change. First one, not understanding the impact, the degree of impact, assessing the impact up front, not engaging the right stakeholders in the right way in relation to the change, which will no doubt have you come unstuck and cause lots of issues and angst. And they're not co-designing or consulting through the process or at any step through the process and designing everything on an island so that when you actually go to roll it out, it could be entirely the wrong solution and not fixing a problem whilst it could be adopted, not fixing the problem or a core issue that the stakeholders, consumers or customers have or clients have, that you ideally should be expending and investing effort into versus other things that you wanted to roll out because you thought it was the best solution. 3 key areas that some change comes unstuck in, and reflect upon your change around whether you've assessed the impact thoroughly enough. Do you feel like your stakeholders are satisfied, engaged, aware, engaged in your process? And have you consulted or co-designed some aspect of how you're delivering your change so that there's more ownership that can be created with those who are on this change journey with you? Short, sharp episode. 3 areas, just reflect upon it and come to myvirtualchangemanager.com if change is something you're interested in learning more about, how you can effectively introduce change, whether that's in a project or a non-project way. That's why myvirtualchangemanager.com exists. There are tools and templates. There is a high-level impact assessment tool, free tool for you to put your current change in to see whether the assessment that you've made is accurate or not and what suggestions I would make around that from a change plan perspective. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope this quick, short, sharp episode adds some value to your change. And why does change matter? Because your people matter. Have a great day.